All right, welcome to another episode of the Contrarian Hour, and it
Game,
is
the boys are back.
Yeah, they're back, and it is personal story time. I know everyone's a little excited for that.
No, it's personal event hour.
Is that what it is? Okay, well, we're starting off with an actual one, original content, as some would say, and the context of it fits great because it's under the specter looming over us, the upcoming election, which I know we've talked about a few times, and every time we do, someone always says in the comments, oh, you're a bunch of sissy liberals, etc. Even though I say when we talk about it, I've seen Trump in person 3 times and voted for him twice. But anything that's critical of him, you're automatically an idiot liberal, even though they've probably only been paying attention to politics for the last 4 years since COVID started.
I'm sorry, but if you're one of the people commenting that on our comments and you're over 45, I'm afraid to say it, but you're probably literally too unintelligent to understand what we're saying.
So, it might be too late for you. It might be too late for you. You sounded like the tree game for if you're over 45 and believe this AI image is real. You shouldn't be listening to this podcast.
I think you should just go back to Monday Night Football, bud. I think it's yeah.
There you go.
This ain't your type of show. Go
watch Amon-Ra St. Brown throw touchdowns to Jared Goff. Go do that. That's more your speed. That's all I want to say about that. But no, what happened to me recently, I was laughing about it. If anyone's ever heard about it, and you would if you grew up in a similar region that I did, there's a convenience store called WaWa, okay? And it kind of just plasters over the East Coast. You can get sandwiches made there. You can get a big bacon cheese dog. If you know, you know. I won't go further into that. But over the weekend, I was stopping in a WaWa. On the way in, I saw a old style pickup truck that was spray painted, not painted tastefully like a decal on a car. It was spray painted red, white, and blue. And there was a wagon hitched to it that said, vote whoever this local representative is, vote whoever this senator is. And it was whoever was on the right side down ballot. And there were a few Trump stickers on there too, and Trump signs. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe this character is in the WaWa, this person who's trying to spread the word. So I walk into the WaWa, and there's ostensibly a normal looking guy standing there holding a coffee cup, walking in circles through the WaWa, around the aisles, going, Trump loves, he was like preaching, he's like proselytizing. He goes, Trump loves every single one of you. Trump is going to win in November. We can all love each other if Trump, if Trump is elected in November, he's the one to bring all of us and unite us. And everyone just kind of keeping their heads down.
Trump missionary.
Yeah, this isn't a blue area. I mean, this is a little bit red. So no one was really having an adverse reaction to it. It was just kind of like, okay, just let him do his thing. Most of us are probably voting for Trump anyway. So he did this for about 5 minutes while I was in there, and I was in the checkout line. And he goes to leave, and before he opens up the exit door, he turns around, coffee cup in hand. This is a normal guy with just a hat on and glasses. He turns around and just goes, Trumpity Trump Trump. And it's just like all of that culminating together with him talking the entire time made the entire store bust out laughing. Even the 2 black guys next to me were cracking up, and I was like joking with the people in line. I'm like, I wonder who he's voting for. So you can tell the tide, it's washing in, right? The election's coming, and things going to be increasingly crazier and crazier.
He sort of like represents a new forefront for the Trump voter, because it's getting really hard to vote for Trump, and the way that he said Trumpity Trump Trump, it sounds like he's ironically voting for Trump. So Trump getting people to vote for him ironically could be the only avenue for him to win the election at this point,
Well, it's starting to feel like there's some extemporaneous reasons why he might get elected because of some geopolitical situations that some people think he would be better in power to oversee than Kamala. But when you take people like Trumpity Trump man in the WaWa, and Trump saying something at debates like they're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, feels a little 2016 to me. I kind of like that, that's better than actually we'll compromise on this. And I wasn't that serious about that issue. And you can't get abortions, but also, that's not the kind of Trump we all like. We like the Trumpity Trump WaWa man, and they're eating the cats and they're eating the dogs. So maybe it was a little bit refreshing to see that someone who's just unhinged, but also it goes to show that they're completely hypnotized into the cult of Trump. You don't see anyone running around going Kamality, Kamala, or anything like that. That's
I
maybe
can
just
see
Brad
myself doing
Summer
that,
a little bit. Oh yeah, I bet you could. I don't think it'll get too far where you're from, but because there's not as many people.
I can imagine that guy just like narrating himself doing like voting for Trump ironically. Like he's in the voting booth, he's like, "Oh boy, look at me! I'm gonna take Trump again. Look at me!" He's narrating himself.
Mad liberals. But
tries to pull up a troll face in real life.
I do like a bit of the fanaticism going into the election, because it feels like things have been a little too tempered. I think they're going to ramp up 0 to 100 within the next month or two, but they're certainly taking their good old time. Maybe people who run elections in think tanks have realized that the American attention span lasts mere days or weeks if you're lucky. So whatever you're saying leading up to the election doesn't matter that much. Maybe only what matters in the last 2 weeks before polls open could. So I have no idea.
I don't know. I think the election's dead. I think it climaxed a few weeks ago, actually, and I feel like the fix is in from that point on.
Wait, I think it's the vice president debate tonight too, and no one cares.
Yeah,
about
dude,
that.
it's the VP debate. Literally, no one cares. There's no more debates between Trump and Kamala. They both parties like agreed to never do that again. So it's like, well, okay, well, there's really nothing else to look forward to if you talk about like public spectacle. And I just really feel like the fix is in for Trump, and he can do anything and he can say anything. That's why he's so brazen with the comments he made. I think I brought this up a few episodes ago, but Trump made this really stupid fucking comment where he said, "Oh yeah, I love legal immigration. I want to staple a green card to every person that has a diploma from a third world country." And he backtracked on that after he got flamed for it. And then 2 days ago, he doubled down when he went on this podcast. He's like, "You know what? I do want to staple a diploma to every fucking green card." It's like, oh, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I think he's having a hard time reading the tapestry, because it used to be 10 years ago a profundity to say, I have no problem with legal immigration. It's illegal immigration that I hate. And people would say, yes, because we're not racist. We're fine with legal immigration. But we've learned it has detrimental effects on our economy when you have unfettered legal immigrations. It's literally hollowed out entire technology sectors and work sectors. So now it's starting to become more of a mainstream Republican opinion. I don't want to say Republican, let's just say hard right-leaning opinion that's easing its way towards the center through Overton window, that no, we hate legal immigration too. We have enough. There's enough going on here. And Trump doesn't get that yet because he's still stuck 4 years behind what he... I hope he's starting to now. I really hope he is now.
I think unfortunately he's always understood that, but the campaign powers to be want to be satisfied in some way,
Oh, well, I'm not going to keep making excuses for him. He's allowed to, the loose cannon that says whatever he wants just can't say this one thing that he actually believes. I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. I think he's just stupid and can't read much beyond whatever his Facebook feeds are or whatever his Twitter feeds at this point. Fair. And of course he goes on Twitter to say that he is
like fucking 80 years old nearly. So like, yeah, I guess,
Yeah. He's just at the whims of a lot of things, and one of them is including himself. So we'll see where that carries from here. But there's something I was thinking about earlier this week, because I'm seeing a little bit of a trend. And I don't know if there was a prototype that started all of this, if they're all interconnected, but it's something I wanted to touch on because the person that I was asking it to, and again, I'm not a gotcha questions person. I just like to practice the art of conversation and maybe engage in thought exercises, as one would say. But listen, it's a touchy subject, but it's one that it's found itself in the mainstream sphere, even though it was kind of on the outer vestiges of it before. This whole Diddy stuff, it kind of bothers me, okay? And I don't know why, but when it comes out, once it makes itself into the, mainstream lexicon where it's, oh, well, don't want to get Diddied or no Diddy, etc. So we already kind of knew that was going on, but now it's just been thrust into the mainstream. I want to ask, and it's the same question for a lot of other people that have been, let's say maybe they've gone to jail and quote unquote committed suicide, or they've gotten pushed out by the Me Too movement. What exactly is the impetus for finally arresting these people? Under what are they arresting them for? And why now? Why now is what I don't understand, because Diddy's been doing this forever. And my friends, I read something that's like, oh, if they knew this the whole time, they would have gone over and arrested him. It's like, well, they did know this the entire time, and they didn't go and arrest him.
Trust me, everyone in the music industry knew about Diddy, and everyone in the film industry knew about Harvey Weinstein and Epstein.
Yeah,
and
so
I feel like the reason that they're being lambasted now is, you're gonna hate this answer, but truly it's because they just want a scapegoat. They want to feed someone to the wolves every once in a while, placate the masses, and then people will just go on with their lives.
I guess so, because what did he do at this point?
Yeah, realistically, what do they lose by giving up Diddy? They don't really lose anything, right?
Well, theoretically, and people love to imagine life as a movie. They love to romanticize everything that happens because they can't entertain themselves, because most people are dullards who live empty, vacant lives. But what if Diddy was really doing everything that they were saying that he was doing, he also has that blackmail somewhere. Like, oh, he was an agent for blackmail. It's like, okay, where is it? Because all I get is Justin Bieber sucking Odell Beckham's dick in the club. Like, I'm not even that's it? That's the extent of his blackmail? And that video was already out there for 10 plus years. So I don't understand.
The funniest thing about the whole Diddy thing? You can laugh at the fucking one-hit wonder rappers that got fucked by Diddy for a record deal and all that stuff. But the funniest thing to me is the fact that is how Usher and Meek Mill were mainstays. Even after they got their record deal and they made their millions, they still went to Diddy parties and they still got railed in the ass by Diddy. So it's like they were in it to win it, dude. They were about that life.
That's just called the love of the game, man.
Yeah, they really saw Diddy's vision and they were on board with it.
I love the video where it's like Meek Mill cooling them cheeks off in the pool after Diddy session. Oh my god, that was so good. But the thing is, okay, when you hear about a lot of the stories, it's like, yeah, and then I was at a Diddy party, and first off, this is an adult. Okay, this is someone who's an adult, and keep in mind the age of consent in the state where the Diddy parties probably were is 18 years old. In a lot of other
was it a
states,
guy or girl?
I'm just talking broadly about any stories that you'll hear from him, and it's like, and then I was forced to do this or I went to do that, and they were always consenting adults when it happened. And then when it comes to people who are below the age of consent, there's always nebulous stories about being groomed or it's creepy or, he just did something that they didn't realize was kind of uncouth at the time. And I think, so what exactly did he do besides be a freakazoid?
He did spike people's drinks. That's pretty bad.
I think that they were under the impression that was happening in the first place. And also, is that crazy? If you did that under the same context of, oh, Frank Sinatra spiked our drinks one time, ooh, and we were all woozy, people would probably find that endearing. It's like, but when Diddy does it, it's hello, HR? I don't know. There's just everything.
I don't know, man. I think because I read the story about Diddy, he got 15 girls, got them all to drink something spiked, and then just said to his boys, yo, have at it. Let's have a freak off. It's like, that's pretty tough, man. I can't.
Okay, so did that happen? Did that actually happen? I don't know. Is that what he's arrested for? What's he arrested for?
He's arrested for rape and underage sex, I think.
Really? No. Federal sex trafficking and racketeering?
Yeah.
What does that even mean? How do you federally sex traffic as opposed to just sex traffic someone?
You have to sex traffic in FedEx.
I guess federal sex trafficking is across state lines. Libertarians in shambles. Don't step on Sneck and sex traffic across state lines. I don't know. I just keep, I think broadly about it too, because it bothers me because they say, oh, well, what's going to happen next is going to be crazy because he's going to rat everyone. It's like, no, nothing's going to happen. And I hate to go, nothing ever happens.
Wouldn't that lend more credence to my argument? Like they're just giving someone to the wolves and he's never going to give anyone up. But he's just going to be the lamb for the day. So everyone just says, okay, we got one of the bad guys. Let's go back to sleep, Man,
I'm starting to think so because it's the same thing with Epstein, too.
And Weinstein.
Yeah, but when I try and drill down on something Epstein's done, people say, like, yeah, these people on the island. And, when you talk about the women that are interviewed, like Virginia Giuffre, who was completely full of shit, by the way, especially since she was fat at the time. But the documentary that was on Netflix started with these two hot girls that were like, yeah, we met Epstein and Ghislaine, and they would take us on all these opulent trips, and we would spend time in Europe at this chateau, and then we would go to his island, and it was all just very strange. And I'm like, when's the part where you get railed? I don't get it. And it never happened. They never mention it in the Netflix documentary.
Well, for Epstein, it did happen.
Did it? What was he arrested? Like, first off, the age of consent where his island was is the age of 13. Okay.
Well, come on. That's.
Oh, wow, I'm just saying.
Come on, that's not a good argument.
I'm not making an argument. I'm just saying, what exactly did he do?
I could be fuzzy on the details, but I remember Epstein's first arrest before he was ever a mainstay or household name. He was arrested in 2006 for having sex with a 16 or 15-year-old, and the court settled.
Legal.
I don't know, but the court settled, and the part of the settlement was that Epstein didn't have to admit any wrongdoing.
Refuses to elaborate.
Yeah.
Hey, that's the power of Alan Dershowitz, right? So he got in there. He said, "Oy vey, he thought she was 16, but actually, I don't know." Listen, all I'm saying is that I get annoyed, okay, when something like this happens, and maybe I'm just being a hipster, because the narratives around Diddy and Epstein were being discussed, let's just say, on stranger parts of the internet for a decade before now, or when something's actually happened to them. And now all of a sudden it gets swept up into this nebulous, reacto Twitter sphere now that's also mixed with conspiracyisms and the new right, which encourages idiocy and saying that everything is a simulation. And once it gets pulled into that orbit, I start to get so frustrated with like how people discuss it and what
honestly,
what the discussions are around
I'm
it.
the opposite. I love it when these people get exposed and get arrested and possibly get hurt in a jail cell, because it's coming from a place of jealousy. It's like, okay, well, I want to swag out on the island, but but I can't. I'm just a middle class guy, but they get to do it, so fuck them.
Swag out on the island. You mean get some sun and take a walk, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
they've been doing that for 18 years on the fucking island. Leave some for the middleman. Okay, how about that?
That whole story with Prince Andrew and Virginia Giuffre, she's like, yeah, and then like we went up to this room, and she was probably of age at the time too, and they were never able to prove anything happened with that except there's a picture of those two, and she was fuzzy on a lot of what she was saying anyways. And what, he was supposed to be a blackmail expert? Where's the picture? Where's the video of Stephen Hawking like using a pneumatic pump to pump up his dick so it could get sucked by a 12-year-old on the island? It doesn't exist. So what do you want me to do? I don't understand what I'm supposed to be getting angry about.
Or it does exist and they're being scrubbed and they're just being fed, like.
I guess so. It's just that like, you think about it, like what happened with Epstein, right? So he's not a rapist.
You really should come to my side on this. These Diddy, Epstein, Harvey Weinstein, they're living it up in fucking in the Hollywood Hills in the island. They're swagging out. What about us? I want to do that. You know,
I'm sorry, but the right side of this argument isn't I want to be more like Harvey Weinstein, so I'm resentful. No, you are not the rational side or ethical side of this discussion at all. But when you think about it, even with Harvey Weinstein too, which by the way, he should come back hard in a legal sense and retaliate on the people who went after him during Me Too, because that was a flurry. That was a mania. People didn't know what was going on. A lot of what came out of the Me Too was fruitless. The only good thing to come out of it was Anthony Bourdain killing himself because Asia Argento swagged on him. That's the only good thing that came out of all of that. So, Harvey Weinstein, for instance, all that they could get him for is a really awkward video where he's saying, I just want you to sit here and watch me take a shower. And the female model's like, no, I don't want to watch you take a shower. I don't feel comfortable. And I don't know, it's like an Indian Spanish accent. I'm sorry, I'm trying my hardest here. And he's just like, no, please, you'll just see me like walk out of the shower. It's fine. And he gets arrested, like put in some sort of probation.
I'm kind of curious about the mechanics of that. It's like, of all the things you could ask for, really, you want them to watch you take a shower? That wouldn't even turn me on a bit, dude. Like, at least like let me feel them up, or let me like cop a look at them. Like, really, you want them to look at you showering? What the fuck?
I think the reason you're happy they've gotten arrested is because you don't think they're working to the best of their abilities.
Yeah, I'm like Michael Jordan in his prime, but I'm caged up. I can't release the beast, dude.
This is like so incriminating for you, and I hopefully not for me. But you know what they say? Like my dad would always tell me this after baseball or cross games. He always say, "Hey, as long as you tried your hardest," and it looks like you did. I'm like, that's what I want to say to them. It's like, well, did you try your hardest?
They didn't. They got complacent.
Did you do your best out there? No.
They got complacent.
So you're not proud of them. And so that's probably why they got arrested, by the way. The federal government's like, hey, we're funding all of this to make this incredible honeypot. You're not even doing anything. No one's gotten molested. Like, what's going on? And Epstein's like, I just feel bad. You know, she's just a kid. Oh, my gosh.
Actually, that would be really fucking funny. The FBI knocks on the Epstein's door. It's like, dude, we spent like $500 million to traffic all these women to you in exchange for our deal, and you're just making them watch you shower? Like, that's just such a bad deal for us. Like,
yeah, it's true. And they're like, yeah, they come to the door and they're like, are you molesting any children, or are you harboring any, illicit materials? And he's like, no, officer. And he's like, why not? Like, you should have had a full stash by now. It doesn't make any sense. Look, you know what? You're being candid, and I appreciate that. I think I just need to be more honest with myself. I can't stand when people on the new right talk about anything. I can't stand this new influx of people who did not care about conspiracies or politics or anything until Trump entered the zeitgeist. I can't stand them. They're all over Twitter. They're all over the real world now. If you talk to any normal person, they have something to say about. And also, by the way, they all failed whatever test you needed to take during COVID too. Whatever test you needed to take to prove that you were a liberty-minded person, they already failed that during all of COVID. So it's just a bunch of idiotic vaccinated people who regret getting vaccinated talking about stupid shit that people were already talking about 10 years ago. I don't know. And maybe I'm just venting, and maybe this is really, really subjective, but that's all we can be at the end of the day.
I feel like you're directing your anger towards the new right, when really your anger is actually towards Zoomers because it's realistically it's only Zoomers that are like talking about Diddy party freak-offs and all this other
well,
stuff.
That's just funny. They just trivialize it and make it funny. It's like when they were calling COVID the boomer remover.
Yeah. I think your anger is towards the Zoomers instead, man. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be that. It's just, what comes along with it? That dialogue where it's, oh, well, this is just step one of the plan. And not in the Q sense where Trump is going to round all of them up, which, by the way, you don't remember during, I think it was before the second Trump election, where they thought that Tom Hanks was a pedophile because he had green screened backgrounds. I was kind of on board with that. I don't know why, but I was like, wait, this does look a little off, and he's just kind of weird. He's definitely secretly gay, which means by transitive property has a higher chance of being a pedophile. So what
I don't
there was
even
something
know
weird
what
going on there.
I don't even know what green screen you're talking about, but he is a pedophile for sure.
I think that, yeah. I think it got swept up
Dude,
in the
you were talking about
cyclone
like
of the
fucking
time.
aura. Tom Hanks gives off pedo aura like that, dude. You can see, you can almost taste it.
You can almost taste it. Okay, we'll be careful. Yeah, that's like how we still have to pretend Pedro Pascal and Oscar Isaac are straight to Hollywood celebrity. I guess they're at the point of their careers where it's like you guys are like the next big thing. Don't say you're gay yet, and wait a little bit. Then say
Speaking of Pedro Pascal, I just watched the final scene. After all these years, I watched the final scene for the Last of Us TV show, and I'm just slowly realizing how fucking lazy that show is. They just literally copied every single scene from the game and just made it into real life, and they want like a fucking award for that. Like,
So if
no.
you talk to people who didn't see the game, didn't play the game, actually I didn't play the game. I watched someone play the game. I didn't play it, but I watched someone play the entire game in front of me in their basement. So I guess I technically did. And they may have handed me the controller at one point or another. But if you talk to people who watched the show but didn't play the game and didn't see the game, they love that show. They think it's amazing. They think it's the greatest thing ever.
I kind of think they're idiots because the game it's a deeper experience. Like I don't see how. Like, for me, when I played the actual game, it felt like I actually did go across the entire fucking country with Ellie, and it was like a whole journey, and that came about through the gameplay. I don't see how you would get the same experience by watching a fucking TV show an hour every week, It doesn't feel the same thing.
I've only played 4 or 5 games in my life that have actually elicited an emotional... First off, I don't think they're great storytelling mediums, but I've only played 4 or 5 games that have actually elicited an emotional reaction from me in the same way a movie or show was. And one of them that I have up there is Snake Eater. I think Snake Eater, where you're fighting Big Boss at the end, it's just masterfully done. It's a great movie. And the way that they incorporate gameplay into the story of you having to defeat bosses, it's just tough in a good way. They did a great job with that. That was when someone was still keeping Hideo Kojima in the rails because he's just a Hollywood wannabe that's stuck in video games, and it's pathetic. But The Last of Us, I definitely did feel that. It definitely did bring some emotions out of me. The end of that game is incredible. It was generational, and it did kind of...
Yeah, it was good.
If you could evolve the medium. So I don't know why there needed to be a show. The game's already a movie. That's what most Sony games are now. So,
you know why? Because the director of Naughty Dog is the Hideo Kojima of the West, dude. That guy, Neil Druckmann, he loves to fucking paint himself as like, I'm this auteur, I'm this fucking director. It's like, dude, you make fucking video games. Let's just call it what it is, okay? But he wants to transition to Hollywood so fucking bad. You can see it in his eyes, dude.
It's the same thing as gaming journalists who want to write about politics, but they can't. So they incorporate politics into their gaming journalism, and it's terrible. Yep. That's why those websites are dropping like flies. So,
by the way, I for this, if you didn't know already, Assassin's Creed Japan will be delayed till next year, and I cannot wait for it to release where no one fucking buys it and Ubisoft stock plummets 80%.
What?
It's a masterful position that Ubisoft is in right now, because if they remove the black guy, they'll get even more flack and people still won't buy it. But if they just keep it there, they're still going to keep the same flack and still no one will buy it. So bravo Ubisoft, thank you for painting the stuff that you're in. You deserve it for making all these fucking shit decisions. And
I don't know if we're working on the same intercontinental wavelength, but I was thinking about that game today for some reason. So anyone in their lifetime who's complained about a AAA game and the direction of AAA gaming, the reason that it is the way it is right now is because of you, the person who plays the games. You keep buying these games and they put less and less effort into them and inflate their own paychecks for them over and over. And then they'll let out something small like, oh, well, we had a really difficult crunch time making it. And you're like, oh, I feel bad for the developers. They're so great. This is you're some GameStop power-up rewards mutt You're some loser smoking weed in the basement who complains about something going on with, PlayStation Live being down today. I don't know what you are. I think you're pathetic for still playing on your console, but it is what it is. PC Master Race always wins in the end. But this is your chance. You've had many of them. This is your chance to show AAA developers that you're sick of it, that you're done. And this is before you even get to the fact that it's just ridiculous cultural appropriation in the literal sense, not in the liberal nomenclature sense.
I know, right? Like, if people have been wanting a game in Japan for so many years where he just plays a fucking ninja, but they just have to add a hulking black guy where he just kills around killing Japanese people. Like, really? they have to like pinpoint the one guy that was black in Japan who was a fucking like assistant to a samurai and say, actually he was a real samurai himself, actually.
Assistant to
and
the
he
samurai.
and he was legendary, and he was a mythical figure, and
he was really cool, and he was the best samurai ever to tell themselves their own fairy tales as they're making the game. On top of all of it, I mean, it's a tired formula that's in these games. They're playing them over and over, but I think people's brains have been so rotted by these exclusives over the years that it doesn't matter. They'll go out and buy it anyway. So I'm telling you, if you have any complaint at all, that's your last chance. And you know what? Just one quick thing in Assassin's Creed that bothers me so much. There's this weird strain offshoot of nerdrotic type video game commentators who are really angry about specific things in games. Like there was that Stellar Blade game that came out, and they're like, their boobs don't jiggle the way that they're supposed to, but also they're the same kind of person that they don't like when women aren't modest, but they want their video games to have bouncy boob physics in them. So whatever. There's just a weird parsing that they'll never make within their own minds about that. But it's always about, they're the same people to always go, this, it's the free market, buy whatever you want, but also I'm really angry that you did this with the samurai guy in your Assassin's Creed game, or I'm really mad that like I don't have the breast physics that I want in Stellar Blade. It says, well, that's the free market for you. I don't know what to tell you. You're just complaining about something that you are the product of, that you have advocated for. So why don't you stop saying positive stuff about the free market? Because it obviously sucks. The free market of ideas obviously sucks.
For the Stellar Blade thing, let me lend an alternative perspective, all right?
Oh no, we have a Stellar Blade enthusiast.
Stellar Blade was made by these Korean developers who just wanted to make like a typical like hot girl in an anime game kind of thing, right? And then when they released that, they got lambasted and say, how dare you make this fucking game where it shows like all these like rude depictions of women as like sex objects. But if you compare that with a game like Hades, which came out a year before or 2 years before, where it's the same fucking thing. They drew all these like mythical gods, like Athena, the goddess, and all this stuff, wearing like a fucking like skimpy tank top, and the only reason that this game didn't get the same flack is because they had gay people in the game. It's like, okay, just because you have some fucking game where two guys are kissing doesn't make it okay as well. If you use your own fucking logic, either it's not okay or it is okay. Okay, you don't get to fucking pick and choose.
You make a salient point, and it is that because it made something else pop into my head. I remember, and this kind of like summated everything that I'm talking about, at least within the last 2 minutes. I remember when the new Spider-Man game came out. I don't know which one it is because you're a loser if you're still getting single-player Spider-Man games at this point. The original Spider-Man for the PlayStation and Spider-Man 3, I believe it was it was either Spider-Man 2 or Spider-Man 3 for the PlayStation, where it was free roaming. That was as good as it got. That was the apex, okay? But some new Miles Morales Spider-Man game came out based on whenever they made him a new Peter Parker years ago. And there's a part where you can play as Venom, I guess, and he's mega cheeked up. And I don't know if it was a mod or what, but you swing around the city as Venom with a fat ass, right? And IGN, so it made a really good point responding to it. IGN said, look at Venom all caked up with like a nervous like face. And then someone quote tweeted and said, okay, good. Now do this with a woman too. And obviously they wouldn't do it. So they're perfectly fine sexualizing male anatomy on these gaming outlets, but women, no way. They can't do that. They will not.
Not even that. With Hades, they were sexualizing the women all day, but because that woman was kissing another woman, somehow that makes it okay? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
You
but
know?
in Overwatch, they couldn't get the ball over the finish line. I don't know if they decided Tracer was a lesbian early on in the process, but I think this was almost beta or pre-beta when they decided to flatten her ass, which was my Hiroshima. You didn't need to flatten Tracer's ass into a surfboard. There was no need for that, especially since she's, an ineffectual lesbian. So it's just, I don't understand where their heads are at. I think there's just a strange admixture of people who have fallen into the gaming sphere and resent it and kind of just want to mold it to whatever their ideology is. And gamers are stupid enough to keep buying what they put out because it's kind of masked by whatever IP they have.
I really hope that all these games like Assassin's Creed Japan, it just fails and we have another big fucking crash in the industry. All these people that are currently like gaming journalists or these people that want to push politics in games, I hope they just go and find some other careers and just leave gaming back to the autistic guys. Can we just get back to those guys, please? That's when things were the golden age,
I mean, it's true, but who knows how interested. I mean, are those guys even still interested anymore? I don't know if they've just been completely like ushered out of the industry.
Well, most of those guys have become women, so
yeah, you're not wrong about that. So, yeah, they're gone in many different ways. So, I'll just throw it out there. I've been playing this game on Steam called UFO 50, and the people who are made it are obvious zoophiles and maybe closet furries, but they hide it somewhat. But the game is a collection of 50 NES type games, NES type games. They're games that would have come out for an NES, maybe using some modern accents or not. But it's supposed to resemble the feeling of just kind of dusting off an old cartridge for a game. You don't know what it is. You try to play it, and you're bad at it, and then you go play a different game. It's like that, and I've been having a lot of fun with that, which is cool. So maybe gaming will just go into a different direction where it's kind of just getting back to really root easy, pick up and play gameplay, and we get away from the third-person story games because people have kind of outgrown that, and they didn't realize it was a little bit of a fad. Also, you talk about the Last of Us TV show. I loved the Uncharted movie. I heard they're going to make a second one, and I will be seated. Dude, I loved that stupid movie. I don't know if you ever saw it. Was Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg, and it was so dumb, but it was a dumb adventure.
That's a tough thing to bite on, but I think I might give that a shot. Who knows? I'm in the mood for some dumb shit to watch.
If you want to delete your brain for an hour and a half, like literally reduce neuron function, put that movie on. That's
what's funny? Last night I tried to watch Twisters, and I got like 30 seconds in before I had to turn it off and watch something else because, it was acted well and all that stuff, but I just couldn't take seriously that they were like these 25-year-olds that were like just enthusiastically talking about tornadoes for that long. It's like, I can't believe that there are these people that are this excited about the weather,
So I have two things to say about that, which are funny, because then you see the preview for the new one with Glenn Powell. And it's like, he's the most popular storm chaser in the country, and he's like a mega celebrity. I'm like, no one knows who the biggest storm chaser in our country is, but in their mystical movie world, where for some reason tornadoes that happen in the Midwest are the center of it, he's the most popular celebrity. I'm like, dude, no one talks about storm chasers like that. Maybe for 6 months on the Weather Channel 10 years ago, and we always have this conversation about Queen's Gambit too. I love that show. I have no problem that Anya Taylor-Joy is destroying people. I think chess is a dumb game anyway, so I don't care. But how the center of the world was chess, they're playing some chess game in Russia and some kids are running out of the building to tell news reporters in the media what each move was on the board. I'm like, guys, no one cares about chess this much.
Dude, my favorite scene is like when this kid, he's like listening to the game on the radio, and then he's like, whoa, his mind's blown, and he runs up to his grandpa and says, "Grandpa, she did this move." And then the grandpa has like a fucking replica chess set in his palm, like saying, "Oh, this is what she did." Like, dude,
that is so stupid.
Like, just people in Siberia who haven't eaten food for like 3 months straight. Just imagine them giving a fuck about what the fuck this dumb bitch is.
B7, honey, that's so good. And like everyone in Russia just living in abject poverty under the Soviet
can we
Union.
eat potatoes or something, please?
Yes, please, Grandma. Oh, but her rook just went to Bishop 4. Blah blah blah. No, I know, and it's fun. And again,
Grandpa used the last of a firewood to make this replica chess set.
Yeah, people obsess over the wrong stuff in that show. Like, oh, it's a feminist power fantasy, etc. Like, who cares? What isn't in Hollywood these days? At least Anya Taylor-Joy is hot and makes cute faces while she's doing it. So who cares? Get over it. But all right, we're gonna move on a little bit from that. Well, we're talking about destroying the last neuron in our brain, and I have a person for that, and he's someone that I'm talking to right now. His name is Tyson. So you had a subject called. You had a subject called Talk Tuah W, okay, that you wanted to bring up. So why don't you bring us to the promised land of
It's a really short one, but I'm just thinking about the history of Talk Tuah and the Hawk Tuah girl. And, she really did play her cards well. She came into prominence with the Hawk Tuah thing, and immediately she had offers to be an OnlyFans girl, and she said no. She saw a vision, she stuck it out, and now she has the fucking number 3 podcast in the entire world. Mm-hmm. So she elevated herself off some stupid meme to one of the top podcasts in the world, and she didn't have to show any of her body at all. That's what I call a smart woman. I love that she did that. Fat fucking
smart,
W.
Smart, playful, and a little modest. But the part that bothers me the most about the Hawk Tuah girl is that people always go, what? She got famous for saying something to, in some random street interview? And even within the context of that street interview, I can name anyone I know, maybe even myself. If someone were typically interviewed, and maybe the people who are usually critiquing her, if they were interviewed on the street and they were asked a question like that, they wouldn't know what to say, let alone they probably wouldn't say something funny or endearing or something that would capture the country's attention for 6 hours or maybe overnight in that case. She said something funny. Most people would think it'd be funny if someone went, Jeffrey Epstein did nothing wrong, or, oh, vote Trump 24. Like, that's their idea of humor. That's what they think is funny, or that's what they think would be, like, shocking or something to say like that. But instead, she says something that's just humorous. It's a little bit racy, a little bit inappropriate. I don't know. She hit the right pitch. And
even amongst people that had viral moments, she did a spectacular job as well. You think about someone like fucking Bagel Boss who had a freak out in a Dunkin' Donuts because he saw he was like short, right? Yeah. he saw like this couple kissing. He's like, man, short guys like us can't fucking get anything, and then she just had a freak out in Dunkin' Donuts. He popped off for like a short bit, and then he just dropped off the face of the fucking earth. The fact that she popped off and she's able to keep that and develop a fucking podcast and become the number 3 podcast in the world and not show any of her body, that's something special, dude. That takes skill.
And that, and people are getting angry about that too, because if she did go and do OnlyFans, they would be mad at her about that too. So, you become famous overnight by saying something funnier situationally than most of what we see in our daily entertainment in life. And she is able to parlay that into something successful by still being a likable person, and that makes you angry too. Okay, I guess when something happens to make you famous, you'll just fade into irrelevance. You'll try your hardest to fade into irrelevance. The Bagel Boss guy, he wasn't able to parlay Bagel, whatever he was. I think I saw him a video of him getting in a fight with an ex-Phillies player, like Lenny Dykstra, as a joke. I forget.
What's funny? Bagel Boss, after he popped off, he got a manager, and they tried to like set him up with like these exhibition boxing matches, but he had so little riz that he just fizzled out of popularity immediately. So it just goes to show it takes something to not only get popularity like he did, but to hold on to it. Well,
people don't understand that mainstream popular consumption, we're talking about low to middle denominator of attention span, is a bit silly. It is a bit stupid because it's playful, and people like errant distractions in their life. They don't want everything to be totally serious all the time. I'm sorry that Talk to a Girl isn't serious enough for you to want to believe that she should be as famous as she is. And that's what my problem is, because even if you look at what do we got here? Okay, top 10 podcasts right now. The Joe Rogan Experience. Okay, never mind. That's just grooming thoughts and minds to like the next generation to like this obscene intellectual level. Talk to Us should be nowhere near that. The Candace Owens Show, who everyone thinks she's insane, right? And I think she was totally onto something. She did a tweet recently where she said hip hop isn't even for black people. It was invented by someone. I don't know if she actually mentioned who she thought it was.
By Frankus, right?
Yeah, invented by Frankus for black homosexuals to spread to the masses and degrade them, which she was completely on the money with that one. I totally agree with that. And then the Tucker Carlson Show, which is like, what does Splanchu Splate think about this today? Or what about the guy who sucked Obama's dick and made it all up? What does he think about that today? Like, oh, okay. I'm sorry. These just titans of thought and discourse have to be sullied by the Talk to a podcast where she just playfully has Whitney Cummings on there to talk about girl stuff.
Yeah.
What's the problem? Like, what's wrong with you people? I just don't understand it at all. Like, literally, we have someone who, for instance, she got really popular after she said that because the Zac Brown Band, which is the biggest country band in the United States right now, if not, I don't want to say maybe they're not number one currently, but if you talk over the last 5 to 10 years, they pretty much are the number one country band. They brought her onto stage during a concert, and she sang a song with them not more than a week after she became famous. This is a stadium of people.
Based.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
For that appearance, she got paid $30,000. Go Queen. You know? Go girl.
I don't think she got paid for that appearance.
I think she did, right?
No, you're talking about something else. She showed up for judging some hot dog eating competition or something like that. Trust me, the Zac Brown Band does not need to pay Talk to a Girl to show up for their concerts. They're doing fine on their own. No, they just took on stage and it's like, well, what would you do in that situation? You're probably like, oh, no, I'm fine. Or you probably couldn't sing. You'd probably be afraid to be in front of all that people. But she's seizing the moment. Don't we like people like this? Don't we like people who are bold in their own idiocy and their own ignorance? Carpe diem. I mean, I don't understand what the big issue is. But
also, Moyer can't see the vision on this one, but I fucking love her accent. I love it so much, dude.
You haven't been in America long enough to know how just
I love the Southern Belle accent. Hey, y'all, y'all fixing for some supper? That kind of shit.
You quickly realize they try and use that accent to their advantage just because of its like historical connotations. Like, oh, I'm a smooth talking Southern Belle, so that means I can say this or do that, and you'll kind of fall for it. It's like a dog making a cute puppy face. It's like, no, shut the fuck up. I see through your stupid accent.
You know what ranks up there is up there with the Southern Belle accent. It's the Irish girl accent. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, that's not that bad.
I love
not
that.
bad.
Yeah.
My most unfavorite accents are probably Indian. That's as bad as it gets. And Australian, too. Those are the worst. Oh, and the German language being spoken. Oh, makes me want to throw up.
I was trying to think of like which one was more unpleasant to hear. Like Arabic, or fucking Indian. And I'm like, you know what? I probably would rather listen to Arabic because at least it sounds more masculine. When an Indian goes hard and he's like just going because
it sounds meek as it's coming out of their mouths. It sounds meek
and it's like feminine. At least Arabic is like Allahu Akbar, it's like you can feel the masculine energy from that,
Well, it's because their entire culture is rootless and foundationally put together by pagan Indian goddesses, so that's why it shows they have an effeminate dialect, you know what I mean?
But then you get yelled at by an Indian accent. It's like, am I being nagged? Because it feels like I'm being nagged right now,
We'll get away from that one quickly. But I think what I'm just trying to say with all of this is that people are critics for a reason, and other people are creatives for a reason. And it seems like a lot of people are way more apt to be critical than they are to create. And this girl was being harassed by Bill Maher to start an OnlyFans in one of her first interviews. And she decided that wasn't the direction she wanted to go in. She probably would have never had to work an entire day, another day in her life, if she opened one up for another month. But hey, she resisted the siren's call. And I got to respect her for that. But no, we have to hate her too. We have to hate her too because the right hates anything that's popular. That's what it comes down to. They can't stand it. It's like, well, what do you want to be popular? Ronald Reagan going, Mr. Gorbachev? Like, I don't understand. What's your prism for culture that you want us to see through? Because it seems to not be anything. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, all right, we'll conclude that one. Actually, you know what? We're kind of poking around popular culture right now. So, why don't we be the people that we hate, or I will become the person that I hate? Because I saw a clip with them recently, but you brought them up. I just never knew how to because
Uh-huh.
it didn't seem pressing. But you typed it in chat the other day. You said, "Fucking hate the Simpsons." That was
Yep.
going to be one of the topics. So, what specifically? What got you going
Dude,
on
I
this?
watched this clip and for some reason it made me so fucking angry. I had to like get up off my chair and just go for a walk because it just made me so angry.
Is it the Bart talking to Homer one?
No, it wasn't that. It
Oh,
was
okay.
like some fucking stupid clip of Homer just like eating kebab. Like he's like on the sidewalk. He's like, "Ooh, a kebab." Eats a stick of kebab, and then he goes and walks 2 more meters. Ooh, a kebab. And he just does that for like 4 more fucking kebab stalls. And then at the end he like eats like some gasoline and he's like, "Ooh, it's not a kebab." And he like spits fire from his mouth. And it's like, I hate this fucking retarded loser so fucking much, dude. It makes me so angry. You know?
This made Gen Xers slap their knees and howl in
Yeah.
laughter
Yep.
30
Yep.
years ago.
Dude, the gags are so old and overdone, and it's just it's dog shit. Like Bart says like something bad, and then Homer strangles him, and then Homer eats some gay shit, and then but everything turns out okay in the end. Apparently, like what's even the moral of the story? That as long as you have love, it's okay to be a fucking retard and make the lives of literally everyone in your city worse. Like, what is that?
I have a lot to say about this, but one of my biggest issues with The Simpsons is that people who watched it and are now older try and intellectualize it and say that it was a reflection of culture at the time when Bart would say something like, "Eat my shorts." And it was always at the cutting edge of humor, an animated comedy. And I never thought that, even when I was younger. So I grew up in a very religious household, and there were a lot of channels I couldn't watch, but there were some things my dad later told me. He said, "Oh, I just didn't want you watching it because it was really fucking stupid." And one of them was Power Rangers. I'm like, "Yeah, I never got into Power Rangers." He's like, "Yeah, I would never have it on because it just was dumb." And he was right. Every kid I knew that was a Power Rangers kid was a fucking idiot and still is to this day. But I think he kind of felt similarly about The Simpsons as well. It's just like what? Like, I don't get it. Like, what's exactly going on here? It's just stupid. And it also fell into that over exposition trap that now every postmodern work has now, where it's like, let me explain exactly what's happening as it's happening, and that's somehow funny, right? I want to find whoever invented that and punch them in the fucking face. But on top of all of that, what was so funny about it in the first place, man?
It's not.
Like,
I mean, earlier seasons.
there's some stuff in there, I'm sure.
Like the first couple seasons, Homer, like, dude, it's actually insane how much they nerfed Homer in the later seasons.
Well, he used to be a loving family man, right?
In the first like 5 seasons, right? He would fuck up, and then he would understand his mistake, and then apologize and all that stuff. But he was still a sentient person. He still understood like I have to do this for my family. I have to like be cognizant of something. But then past season 5, it's like he just becomes like a fucking 65 IQ retard. Like,
yeah,
he just eats gasoline and shit. Marge Marge looks fucking busted and can't stop nagging him. It's like, this.
She looks busted.
Dude, she looks so busted with her fucking like shitty hair that's like a leaning tower of Pisa and shit. But you would think at least you could ally with Lisa and like take and relate with her, but she's also insufferable herself. She can't stand her family, but not because they're psychopaths and 60 IQ morons, but because they wouldn't use like the right pronouns, or they wouldn't believe that women are capable of the same psychopathic shit that they are. It's like, okay, well, you're also annoying,
Yeah, and then Bart is like one-dimensional too.
Yeah, it paints like an ugly world. It's so funny because the world of fucking Family Guy is like 10x better than the Simpsons world.
So you're kind of leading into what I was thinking of saying while you were talking, and it was, listen, and I don't know if this is generational or what. I think The Simpsons paved the way because Family Guy is the GOAT. Like, it's the chosen one. Like, that show is hilarious to this day, even when you watch older ones. And they weren't afraid to take the realism out of it. That's why they had the cutaways and the long gags, and then they would get too meta with those. But I saw a Family Guy that was released within the last year or two. It was fucking funny. There was funny stuff in there maybe one or two times. Dude, I saw Simpsons from the last 1 or 2 years. It made me sick to my stomach. I got depressed. Yeah. I didn't want to watch it. Dude, if you take Family Guy and American Dad, goats. Like, they're so good. They're so good compared to The Simpsons. So it's like, just go put that away in the treasure chest. Put it in your little scrapbook and be like, oh, I remember when, he worked at a nuclear factory, but he's an idiot. Oh, that's so funny. Meanwhile, Family Guy's like cutting edge all the time. That's all people. Who's making dumb Homer Simpsons references nowadays? No one. People are making Family Guy jokes all the time.
Like, he strangles his kid. Okay, like, that's fucking another Tuesday in the fucking family universe. You know?
You can't convince me that Eat My Shorts was cutting edge even for the 80s or 90s or whenever the show came out, okay? But we have to pretend that it was?
Dude, can you imagine if some kids say that to you in real life? You'd be like, you're like a loser. Like, get away from me. What the fuck?
Yeah, seriously. It's like, wow, this kid's a nerd. What the heck? So, dude, I remember the first Family Guy episode I ever saw was the Peoria one. Let me see when that one came out.
Pretoria? I actually remember that one.
Pretoria. I can't remember the first Simpsons show I ever saw. This came out this came out before 9/11. This came out in the year 2000. Dude, we should start, just because Simpsons is old, we have to have some untold reference for it. This show's lapping 9/11. Yep. We should have the same amount of reverence for Family Guy. And that Pretoria episode, which is now 24 years old, which blows my mind and makes me feel incredibly old, by the way. It's funnier than anything I'd ever seen from The Simpsons. So what are we talking about? Things from that episode are like popping up in my head right now. Like, you ever, even if you're on a sports team when you're younger, people would be doing the "come back here, Sonny," like pedophile voice of the guy that was obsessed with Chris. Like, people love that shit. No one was doing any other
you have
jokes
to pay
like that.
You have to pay respects to Gasoline Kebab Eating Man and Eat My Shorts Kid, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, no, I'm good. I got Family Guy. It's like, is that all you need? Yes. So, and you want to talk about consistency too? I mean, it's at least year over year, it's been somewhat funny. Right? So I can't really say the same for The Simpsons, but instead we have these people that will eventually die out that make it a cultural mainstay. They say, no, this is an implanted part of our culture. Yeah, maybe for 5 years, like 30 years ago. Like, no one cares.
You know what's funny? I came across this article a few years ago, and it said, like, people are speculating like when Matt Groening, who created The Simpsons, is going to sell the franchise, because when he does, he's going to cash in $1 billion payday. So apparently they value the Simpsons franchise like at like $1.5 billion, and it's like, are you sure? I don't think it is worth that much, dude.
Well, that was part of the merger or the acquisition deal where Disney got Fox, so they could have the entirety of the Simpsons library on Disney Plus. That's not worth, and they overpaid. I think they paid $44 billion for the Fox IP to get some shitty X-Men and The Simpsons. Gigantic L, because Comcast took Bob Iger to the cleaners and said, yeah, we want to buy Fox too. Ha ha. And they upbid it until Bob Iger's like, no, I'm buying it for this much. And Comcast is like, all right, later, have fun. And he's like, shit, I didn't actually want it that badly, which is so funny. Oh my gosh. All right. We got to wind down here. Do you have anything real quick, or we'll have to save it for next week because I didn't expect us to talk about nothing so much. I enjoy it. So
we forgot to do this again at the start, but if you're listening, please subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please give us 5 stars. Helps us out.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. I did forget that at the beginning again. And I think what we'll do maybe on the next episode is we'll have a true vice presidential nominee discussion. Who knows? Maybe it's not even that interesting. We won't even talk about
Honestly,
that. It's just a joke.
I'm kind of done with the election season. Like, I'm going to call it here. I don't think anything interesting else is going to happen for the entire election.
I think you're probably right after that debate, because anything that Trump does at his rallies is insulated to those rallies and the soundboards that popularize what goes on at them. So that's not that interesting. And then Kamala's just kind of gonna lay low and see how the polls shake out. So, but I am paying attention. I am paying attention to it. So, all right, good stuff. Till the next time, we are the Contrarian Hour.